folks. Last night was the top 6 on American Idol with 2 performances each. The first being a Queen classic and the second being pretty much anything they wanted. I thought it was a very interesting night. Unfortunately, though, the season 11 syndrome has claimed another victim. Ryan Seacrest was almost too sick to show up, and he looked sick on the show, didn't he? He looked like he had died and then somehow been reanimated and crawled out of the morgue to fulfill his hosting duties. I think it would have been interesting to see how they would have handled the show without Ryan Seacrest. Apparently Nigel filled in for him during rehearsals, but it would have been so interesting to see if they could have done things without him. It would have probably been a mess, but you know what I thought was even more interesting? The first thing he did when he showed up was hug the judges. He must be as frustrated with them as I am, because I'd like to think if I had a nasty contagious flu bug, I can't think of 3 people I would rather hug than Randy, Jennifer, and Steven. They're maddening, aren't they? I would just love to wrap my achy arms around them and pass on the love. Apparently Ryan was so sick that he couldn't even do the Queen intro. It had to be narrated by Randy Jackson. That was strange. He isn't a very convincing narrator, is he? He should probably just stick with, whatever it is he does for a living. I don't know. Anyway, the show kicked off with a group performance. The top 6 with Brian May and Roger Taylor performing a medley of Queen hits. When did Brian May let his hair go gray? He looked like Meemaw. I wasn't sure if I was watching Queen or Paula Deen. Hey, I just made a rhyme. I'm such a poet. One of my Facebook friends pointed out, though, that Roger Taylor is starting to look a lot like Colonel Sanders. No, really, this was a good performance. This is what I love about Queen. Whenever their songs are done on the show, they get involved. I always find myself so annoyed during the theme weeks when an artist is featured, and then usually they can't even be bothered to even show up. Not only do these guys show up, they work. So kudos to them. Now, before the second performances of the night, we got to see the contestants talk smack about each other pretty much. The first contestant of the night was Jessica Sanchez. During her smack talk segment, Phillip said that Jessica ruined the other contestants' lives by getting the judges saved. Well, Hollie didn't go that far, but she did say that she wished they'd had 3 saves. I hate to break this to you, Hollie, but if they had 1 trillion saves, they still would never use one on you. Jessica is the only contestant still in school. Joshua suspects that instead of learning, she spends her days drinking special potions that make her a better singer. That's funny. I used to spend my days drinking special potions when I was supposed to be in school, but it didn't make me a better singer. Oh well. Anyway, Jessica's first song was Bohemian Rhapsody. It started out in black and white. I think that was a first. I don't think they've ever done that on the show before. Then when the song went into the rock part, everything was in color. I wasn't sure if I was watching American Idol or The Wizard of Oz. I did like the 3 strange Jessica heads on the screen behind her. I guess it was a tribute to the original video for this song. But the performance overall, I thought was kind of boring. Well, I know rock isn't her wheelhouse, and it's not her thing, but maybe she should have picked a smaller song then, instead of picking Queen's biggest song and doing just an okay job with it. The song, for me, should have been the biggest performance of Queen Night, but it wasn't. Steven said that Freddie Mercury would be proud. Don't you hate it when they do that? Try to speak for dead people? I'm sure Freddie would have just been so excited to see his masterpiece chopped down to 1.5 minutes and then have the life drained out of it. Yeah, I'm sure he loved it. J-Lo thought she sounded beautiful, but she wanted Jessica to toss her hair around and give it more of a rock feel. I don't know if she had to toss her hair around. I just don't think it was the right song for her. And Randy loved it because she didn't sing any runs, but he wants her to channel Tina Turner. And Jessica's second song was Dance With My Father. At first I thought it might have been a little bit risky for Jessica to sing this dead father anthem to her father when her father is still alive, but he's getting ready to be deployed to Singapore, so I guess that's close enough. Also, I thought it could be a little bit risky because it's one of those songs that's starting to wear out its welcome on American Idol. It's been done quite a few times on the show, but it has never been done as good as Jessica did it last night. I loved every second of it. I thought it was Jessica's best performance yet, and she's had some pretty good performances, so I thought it was fantastic. For me, this was the best of the night by a long shot. The silhouette in the background, though, the man holding up the baby did kind of seem like kind of Lion King-ish to me, but whatever. When it was time for the judges' feedback, J-Lo started off with, "Hey, Jessica," which usually is how you expect her to start it out when she doesn't like a performance. I was ready to get really more frustrated with her than I already was, but she loved it. She said it was the best that she's ever heard that song sang. Steven said, "I don't think you can sing a song bad," and Randy said, "You are truly amazing." Second up was Skylar Laine. During the Smack Talk session, the other contestants were talking about Skylar being tough. Hollie said that Skylar was thick-boned. I'm not fat, I'm big-boned. Well, I guess she meant thick-skinned, but I guess compared to Hollie, everybody is kind of thick-boned, aren't they? Anyway, Skylar's Queen song was The Show Must Go On, and Skylar could have done well to pick a more fun Queen song where she could have given one of those manic, all-over-the-stage performances like she likes to do, because I thought she struggled with this one a little bit. The song kind of swallowed her up. I mean, she didn't sound terrible, but some of the big notes were verging on shrill, and the performance overall could have used a darker feel. For all the talk of contestants needing to connect with a song, I don't think Skylar connected with this song at all. I don't think she even knew what it was about. It was really about Freddie Mercury dying, so the judges might have loved it, but I don't think she did herself any favors. Steven said that was fabulous. J-Lo got goosey. She thought it was powerful. And Randy thought it was one of her best performances to date. Are they crazy? Oh, yeah, that's right. I guess they are. With Skylar's second performance, she brought out the guitar again for Jason Aldean's Tattoos on This Town. I'm not sure if this was a brilliant song choice either, unless you're a fan of country music. The good odds are you've never heard this song. It has no crossover appeal. Skylar already wins the country vote. She needs to branch out and pull in new fans that might not like country music, and I don't think this performance did that. It was decent, but if you're going to sing a song that not everybody knows, it better be a showstopper, and this wasn't. Randy said he's a ginormous fan. J-Lo said that she slayed it. Steven missed the flair, but he thinks she can do no wrong. I think there's a small chance that Skylar could be in some trouble this week. And this season with no clear frontrunner, nobody can depend on their base alone to carry them. Every performance needs to pick up casual voters who don't have a clear favorite. I don't think she accomplished much of that this week. Next up was Joshua Ledet. According to Hollie, Joshua is pretty much a slob. I guess some people would say that I kind of am too, but if I knew that TV cameras could come rolling into my bedroom at any minute, I think I would kind of try to keep things a little bit more tidy, and for sure I wouldn't have dirty dishes laying around everywhere. That's just asking for an infestation. I was a little surprised, though, that Hollie was the one that brought that up, since earlier in the season her own parents outed her for living in squalor, but whatever. Joshua's first song choice was Crazy Little Thing Called Love. I actually hate this song by Queen, and I hated it even more by Joshua Ledet. A lot of Queen songs are timeless. They sound just as good now as they did 30 years ago. This is not one of them. I mean, this song sounded old when they did it. It's like their most dated song in history, and so it should come as no surprise that Joshua picked this song. Even with the current themes, he has this knack for picking the oldest sounding songs of the theme, and if there were ever a theme for Joshua to try not to overpower a song, this would be the theme. He screamed the entire song for the most part. I couldn't even hardly understand a word of it, and the way he gave the come hither looks to the female backup singer on stage, raise your hand if you believe that. I don't think this performance could have been any sillier if Weird Al Yankovic had joined him on stage. So it comes as no surprise, though, that Joshua once again got a standing ovation from the peanut gallery. J-Lo was a little reluctant to stand up on this one, but I guess she felt obligated after Randy and Steven stood up. She really could take a lesson from Simon Cowell. I remember plenty of times when the judges gave standing ovations and he didn't join them. Randy said that was unbelievable. Well, I guess it kind of was. J-Lo said that the Joshua part of the show is her favorite part of the show, and Steven said that Freddie would have loved it. Loved what? Joshua's second performance was Ready for Love by India Arie. Didn't I just say last week that Joshua was in desperate need of a tender moment? Finally, he had one last night. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was his best performance yet. And finally, one that deserved the standing ovation that it got. The problem is that these judges are like... They're like the judges that cried wolf. For every one of his performances, they stand up. And people are so sick of it that when the wolf finally showed up, people might not believe it when the judges cry wolf this time, and the wolf might end up eating Joshua. Randy was speechless, but then he wouldn't shut up. J-Lo was the same way. Steven said that he hopes the label finds a lot of good songs for Joshua. Next up was Elise Testone and her attitude. The other contestants say that Elise laughs after everything that she says. Didn't she say that she laughs when she gets nervous? She must be nervous all the time. She's just a very nervous person. She's got good reason to be nervous this week, though. Well, she's been hanging on by a thread for a little while now. I think it'll be a miracle if she survives this week. Her first song was I Want It All, and it was a solid performance, but as the closest thing to a rock singer left on the show, this should have been her opportunity to leave everybody else in the dust, and she didn't do that. Jimmy said that she needs to find the most potent rock songs and deliver, and I don't think this song was very potent. It wasn't even really a big hit, so I don't think it was a brilliant song choice for her, and it's not good enough for Elise to be the best of the night so far. The judges loved it. Steven said you found your stride. J-Lo said it was natural and sexy, and Randy said it was one of Elise's best performances. Her second song was Bold as Love by Jimi Hendrix. At least Jimmy Iovine suggested potent rock songs, not obscure ones. There were parts of this performance that I really liked, but once again I have to agree with Randy Jackson. Elise tried to put too much into the song. There was screaming, there was scatting, there was talking, and there was just a lot of runs. Just so much going on. Every time she did something that I liked, she followed it up with something that I didn't like. So overall, I wasn't crazy about this performance. Steven said you gotta pick songs that people know. You can't pick cherries with your back to the tree. Elise said that she thought everybody knew this song. Is she serious? I didn't know the song, or maybe if I did know the song, I just didn't recognize it with her singing it. I'm not sure. J-Lo didn't think that the obscure song choice mattered. She thought Elise slayed it. And Randy felt like she attacked the song. Once again, Elise got sassy. You know, I don't expect her to agree with the judges. I rarely do. Or I don't even expect her to like them. They aren't fair judges. But when you're being judged, you kind of just have to take it. If you were in court and you had and you were being sentenced by the unfairest judge in the county, telling them that they're wrong isn't going to do anything except get you a harsher sentence. Elise said that Randy was wrong. Well, and I mean, of course she thinks that. Elise thinks that she's perfection, and that's why she isn't improving. She doesn't think there's anything to improve. She said in an interview last week that she's more deserving than the other contestants. I swear that attitude is just something. I can't wait to see what kind of smack she talks when she's finally eliminated, which will probably be this week. Next up was Phillips. In the smack talk session, Jessica Sanchez was on the money. She said that Phillip is really handsome, but when he sings, he's not attractive, and he performs like he's in dire pain. That is so, so true. Phillip's first performance was Fat Bottom Girls without the guitar. I was so surprised to see him perform without the guitar again. He is just so awkward without it, though, isn't he? As one of my Facebook friends so nicely put it, he looks like he needs to go number 2, but the constipation is winning. Actually, there were a couple of parts in this performance that I loved. During the chorus, the backup singers pretty much overpowered the song, and I could barely hear Phillip. I thought that was fantastic. If they had done the whole song without him, it would have probably been the best performance of the night. Unfortunately, though, he had to be there to bark out most of the song, so I really didn't like it. Steven loves watching Phillip run out of breath. The resident Fat Bottom Girl feels like we get different flavors from Phillip, and she doesn't get the Dave Matthews comparisons at all. Give it just a few minutes, J-Lo. You'll get it here in a minute. And Randy liked it, but he wasn't jumping up and down. Phillip's second song was the Dave Matthews Band, The Stone. What stone? The kidney stone? I don't know. This performance almost seemed more like talking than singing to me, but there wasn't really any yelling, so I was less annoyed than I usually am with Phillip. Instead, this time I was just bored. Phillip is always getting compared to Dave Matthews, so I guess his goal this week was to prove that he really is a poor man's Dave Matthews. So I guess he accomplished that. Steven said, typical Phillip Phillips, but he meant that in a good way. I thought it was typical Phillip Phillips in a typical way. J-Lo thought it was too obscure. She wants him to do songs that will get him to the finale. Why would you even want him at the finale? And Randy said that die, sink, or swim, Phil Phillips will always be Phil Phillips. I hope he sinks this week, but I don't know. I know a lot of people automatically think that he's going to pick up Colton fans, but I just don't think he will. I think if you didn't already like Phillip by now, you aren't going to start. And last but not least was Hollie Cavanagh. Ryan acted like Hollie was so good last week, and it was such a good week for her, but she was still in the bottom 2. I thought it was a good week for her, but apparently most people didn't. Hollie pointed out that she doesn't have a speech problem, that she has an accent. And I think it was last season in Hollywood. They didn't mention where she was from, and she was in and out of the accent. I really thought she had a speech impediment. And so I thought it was kind of strange that she didn't have it when she was singing. But accents are strange like that too, aren't they? I always find it interesting when a person has a thick accent when they talk, but then no accent when they're singing. I always thought that was weird. Anyway, Hollie's first song was Save Me. Even the title of that song reeks of desperation, doesn't it? For some people, though, I think desperation actually makes them a better performer. I think Hollie is one of those people. First off, I thought she looked great this week. She looks so much better with the straight hair. It's how she usually wears the hair on results night, but usually she's overdone on performance night. Didn't I just say in last week's results review that she needs to sport her results look on performance night? She must be watching me and taking my advice. Hi, Hollie. I thought she sounded great too. My biggest issue would be that every time she went for the big notes, she doubled over like she was in pain, and all you could see was the top of her head. The casual observer might have thought that her appendix had just burst. There was one bum note in the song, but she recovered from it nicely. Steven thought she did a good job with it, but he didn't seem to really like it. J-Lo felt like she got emotional with it, but she wants her to enjoy it more. And Randy thought it was good, but that the song didn't have a moment. And Hollie's second song was The Climb, a corny song if ever there was one, but Hollie did a great job with it. She's almost starting to kind of look like a frontrunner again. For me, this is 2 weeks in a row that she's had really good performances, but this time, it got her a standing ovation. I was just as surprised as she was to see that. Randy said, Hollie is back, yo. J-Lo said that was stepping it up. And Steven said, you sing a song like it's going out of style. And I guess this song kind of is going out of style. It's getting a little bit old. But Hollie's going to sing songs that she knows. I think she's improving while some of the other contestants are kind of slipping. So it might be a good thing for her. So going home, I think it should be Elise, but she seems to have 9 lives, and I don't know if she's used them all up yet, but I hope so. I thought it was funny, though, that J-Lo declared Skylar the best in round 1, but why then did she give Joshua a standing ovation but not Skylar? I think these judges are trying to be a team instead of being individuals. They want to agree with each other so much that they forget to be individual judges. And so, I don't know what's wrong with them, but anyway, so yeah, I think Elise will probably go home tonight. I would hope it would be Phillip, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll be Elise. My favorite performance of the night was Jessica's dance with my father, and the worst performance of the night I thought was Joshua's crazy little thing called Love. It was a crazy little performance. So anyway, let me know who y'all think is going home down in the comments section, and I'll see y'all tonight.